Hello and welcome to episode 405 of the Mark and Me podcast. As always, I'm your host Mark. Now today's a very special episode. I think personally, it's probably my favourite interview I've done this year. Don't get me wrong, Kevin Smith was an absolute delight. To celebrate the big milestone of 400 was genuinely a dream come true with that guy. But there's something about today's guest where the chemistry just feels like on another level. We hit it off straight away, and I'm thrilled to announce that on today's episode, I'm joined by the songwriter, the musician, the author, and all-round just incredible guy, Jack Jones. You will know Jack Jones probably from his band Trampolene. He's also the guitarist for the band which plays with Peter Doherty, and he's got his own solo album out, and it's absolutely awesome. It's literally out now, so as you listen to this, go on Spotify, type in Jack Jones, check out his album. It's unbelievable. I'm gutted because he just played in my hometown and I've missed it, but the guy is just, I don't know, he's just beautiful. I love his music, I love his attitude, I love how humble he is. One of my favourite guests ever on Mark and Me, and easily my favourite guest this year. And I'll be bringing you that interview in just a couple of minutes' time. But, as always, I always like to use the intro to talk about my last episode. It only came out yesterday and I was joined by Jenny from Ace of Base. Thanks so much. I know it's only been out 24 hours, but I'm kind of doing this thing this week where I have 5 episodes come out in 5 days, so I can't really talk about how well it's done and how insane the numbers have been, because it's only been out literally 24 hours. But I do want to say thanks to everyone that listened and took the time to listen, because it really does mean a lot. But today I want to get back to the main episode, the main interview, the guest himself, Jack Jones. And just before I hit play, I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of Mark and Me, Vice Press. It's coming up to Christmas. You're probably thinking, what do I buy my husband or my son or my friends? Get them something from Vice Press, because with my code, which is Mark and Me 10, you can apply this at their store and get 10% off your first purchase. It's that simple. So go and treat yourself, or go and treat someone you love with some of their incredible posters. Right, let's get to my favourite interview of the year. It really is that good. Here's me and Jack Jones talking all things music.
You never forget your first panic attack. Too big of a line, one too many blowbacks. No word of a lie, Jack. Trust me, to try smack and get sidetracked. When I think of my first panic attack, I'm right back in the love shack. The slugs rack. We've been here before, Jack, and we ended up with a...
So Jack, welcome to the Mark and Me podcast.
Wow, what an honour. Thank you so much for having me, mate. Can't believe it.
Absolute pleasure. What I want to do, Jack, with all guests that come on the podcast, and I keep it the same for all guests, even though we're at nearly 400, is I do like to take it right back to the very start. As a kid, do you remember that first album that you bought with your pocket money, or maybe someone in your family gave you, but that first album that you listened to that you thought, this is absolutely awesome. This is what I want to do.
The first thing I remember hearing was the Beatles.
Oh wow.
Which is weird because we had a random, in assembly, usually you sing like I suppose they'd sing like Christianity songs or something, however you describe it, but our music teacher, not that I was interested at all in music at this time, was a bit of a wild one, and he used to, at the end of assembly, instead of singing like, I don't know,
Kumbaya.
Yeah. He used to sing When I'm 64 and Help.
Wow, that's cool.
So we were singing those songs, and so that's the kind of first time I remember hearing music in school. I must have been, near enough 5 or 6, was that kind of age. And then the first album I remember owning, I can't remember. I remember little things like my dad would sing to me Slide Away by Oasis.
Yeah.
And I remember the lyric, he would sing Let Me Be the One That Shines With You. And I never had a clue what he was on about, but when I being older and looking back at those moments. It's a love song. Obviously, you'd think it was about a girl and a boy or whatever, but when a father sings it to his son, it's got the song takes on another kind of
Yeah.
meaning and is quite powerful. So I remember that. And I remember probably I was 10 or something when Be Here Now came out. And I was queuing up to get that with my old man. So that was probably the first, that's probably the first record I can remember holding, actually.
I miss those days, like Our Price or Virgin Megastore, queuing up in the cold, like want to trying to be the first person to have. I remember even with singles like Do You Know What I Mean from that album came out,
Yeah.
and it was like a two-track single, but you always knew with the Oasis B-sides they were going to be as good as most bands' A-sides. And you queue up and get that CD on the release day, and it felt so magical. Like, oh wow, because it wasn't Spotify, there wasn't streaming. You'd have to listen for the first time, and my God, those Oasis days for those early albums were just, there's nothing like it.
Yeah. The B-side to Do You Know What I Mean was Stay Young.
Yeah,
Hey, stay young. I mean
incredible.
that could be anyone's like main single, couldn't it? It's so
The fact
good.
that Master Plan is just full of B-sides and genuinely some of the best songs I've ever heard. Aqueous,
I
unbelievable.
mean, yeah, he was, I don't know, touched by God somehow, it's just and the
Phenomenal.
lyrics actually, the lyrics I don't think Noel gets the kind of kudos for some of the lyrics.
No,
They're like, I mean, even on the Standing on the Shoulders of Giants album, the what tongueless ghost of sin crept through my curtain. You know what I mean? It's like that's epically poetic, man.
no one ever talks about
Like,
the lyrics. They always talk
no,
about just the choruses to sing along and Liam's as a front man and Noel's guitar, but no one ever breaks down or digests the fact that some of those lyrics, don't get me wrong, some of them are fucking awful, but some of them are absolutely
yeah, there's
unbelievable.
yeah,
Unbelievable.
some of them are like written by Shakespeare himself or something,
Yeah,
but like some of them are, like you said, there's a few like just a few turd burglars in there. But that song, that Gas Panic song, some of the lyrics in that, it describes perfectly to me what it's like to like withdraw from drugs. I
yeah.
think it's like you get a cold shiver up your spine when you read some of those words. It's like so of the moment. It's so on the nose and on the moment. It's you know someone's really channeling something there.
This afternoon now, I'm just going to be listening to Oasis all day. I've got so much editing to do, and I'm like, I've got so much to get done, and I'm like, oh, Jack's just made me now go down through the whole of the Oasis back catalogue.
I'm sorry, mate.
No, it's all good.
It's a good way to spend a few hours, though, man.
Oh,
Crikey.
definitely. Oh my God. Anyway, with live
Yeah.
music, that's what I'm always interested in. So live music changed my life when I first,
Mm.
I think I was 12, so I'm a bit older than you, obviously. And one of the first gigs I went to was in Wolverhampton, seeing Green Day
Oh
on their
wow.
Dookie tour. So it was really early for them. And then a couple of weeks later, it was like Offspring and Korn and Limp Bizkit. It was all that whole
Oh, that whole new metal thing. I mean,
whole new
Limp
metal.
Bizkit now. Do you know what? That the Netflix documentary, the Woodstock one, came out.
Yeah,
Did you see, like Limp Bizkit at their prime? Oh my God, what a beast!
unbelievable.
What a unbelievable beast! I mean, the guitar playing is fucking brilliant, man.
Yeah,
I
Wes
just
Bolin is just a genius, and the way he paints himself up and does all these like
yeah.
crazy costumes. But considering they've only got one guitarist in the band, they're a force. And when you see the
Yeah.
crowd and like people just surfing and just it looks incredible. And like you can't tell Limp Bizkit to kind of be tame or quiet and like just keep it down a bit now. Like it's Limp Bizkit. It's just there's no one else like it, is there?
No, he's a brilliant frontman too.
Yeah, Fred
Yeah.
Durst is just
Yeah. And it's quite
magic.
interesting that like even though, they had all this hype, didn't they? I mean, when
Yeah.
I was in school, I think they were like the band, you know what I mean? Like them, it was like Linkin Park. There's all these kind of like American bands and they that kind of like incredible energy that he had. But like
Yeah.
few years later, like now you just look back and you think, oh, just a great heavy band. You know what I mean? Like they came around with all this furore, but now they could just go around touring forever and just become like old school, like
Just
proper
legends, yeah.
legends, like dads rocking out. You know what I mean? Forever. It must be great to be in Limp Bizkit, I think.
Yeah, if
What a
you ever get
life.
a chance to go and see them, There's no. I saw them at Download last year, and I've seen them before. Obviously, when I was talking about when I was first seeing live music, and you
Mm.
just need to see it. It'll just blow your head off your shoulders. It's just nothing else like it.
Yeah. Well,
So
I've always wanted to see Rage Against the Machine,
I've seen them a few times. I saw them in Finsbury Park when they did the
the number one
celebration
album
for number
thing.
one. Yeah, and then I
I
saw them
mean,
at
that is,
Reading.
I'm so glad that like Britain could have Killing in the Name Christmas number
If
one. I
anyone
mean,
would do it, it had to be Britain, didn't it?
yeah, it's the best story ever.
So what about live music for you then? I just talked about Green Day, Limp Bizkit. What was your first experience? If it's an embarrassing one, come on, tell the world. What was
I'm,
it?
I'm, I, I can't remember any embarrassing ones. To be honest, my first live band was Oasis.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
I think I was maybe 12, and I can remember the gig because I think Liam walked off.
Oh
He
okay.
just he'd just been had a fight in Germany and lost his teeth or something, and so like he already had new teeth. That was the rumor.
Yeah.
I think it was Sheffield because my mother's side of the family are all from Sheffield,
Right.
and so my mum's brother was a bit older and just kind of took me to that gig and I don't know if he stayed there the whole time. There's certainly a bit of controversy. Maybe he left like after 45 minutes or something. But I was hooked. I was in from the beginning. And there was one moment where he like came out and he like pointed at me and I was like, oh my God, he's pointing at me. I'm next. I've got to be the next great songwriter, or
He's
I
passing
got
the
to be the
baton
next.
over.
Yeah, he's passing the baton to me. So I was obsessed from a very young age. But after seeing Oasis, to be honest, like when Oasis weren't that cool at that time, it was more like you're saying that all the American bands, like they were in my school, everyone was
Yeah.
into it. And there was I can remember going to all these kind of like punk gigs, like when I was a kid. There's bands like from Swansea that were had these huge followings, like Adequate Seven, and they were actually from Cardiff, and Adam Went Home. These kind of like proper American kind of punk rock things.
Yeah.
And I used to just love going to those gigs, underage drinking, like spewing into my own sock, like jumping around the place, just like it was brilliant. And I think I went to see Sum 41 actually in Cardiff Arena, and they were like the Mighty Boss Tones were supporting them, and
Amazing bands.
yeah, someone else, and so I had a fair bit of the kind of
There's quite
American,
a variety there, isn't there? You go from Oasis to some 41 to
yeah.
Mighty Boss Tones. There's like a nice collective mix, and I wondered, was it at that point already in your life you were like, I want to do this, or was it later on?
It was not far away, so I can't. Maybe I started playing guitar when I was about 15, I think,
Yeah.
and I was going to these gigs from about 12 to about 15, and then I got really kind of obsessed with it because I wasn't doing that well in school. In fact, I was excluded a couple of times. The first time was for jumping on my art teacher's car, screaming that I wanted to be a woman for a
Wow.
fiver, actually. I was
Not
naked
not
as
worth it,
well.
is it, for a fiver?
Well, my mother took the fiver off me and gave it to the local
Oh,
church as well. So I
Jesus.
didn't even get the fiver. But
Naked as well, dude.
I know, I know. So I didn't think there was any way back for me after that. But
No.
because mum was on her own at the time, I think she managed to convince the um, school to take me back. But then a few months later, I had probably some sort of weird art lesson problem, and like we were trying to draw the sunflowers, Van Gogh's sunflowers, and I wasn't doing a very good job, and then I told the teacher that she could shove Van Gogh's sunflowers up her minge, and that was the last straw. I think
I think I've done 400 episodes of Mark and Me, and we've never said the word minge. So nice one, Jack. You've brought
Yes.
minge to Mark and Me.
I, I apologize profusely. That's the kind of word that I was using when I was
Minge.
13-year-old.
So that got you kicked out of school, and then again, your mum can't pull any favors at that point because you've done naked, standing on a car, and calling your teachers quite an offensive word.
Yeah, exactly. And then under the Christmas tree, I mean, my mum and dad had split up at this time, and so I was living with it was me and my sister, and that year there was a kind of odd shaped triangle present kind of under the tree, and I was like, "What's this?" And I kind of picked it out, and it was from my dad. So it was like, and obviously I was missing my dad and like looking for
Yeah.
that connection with him. And on the uh, on the kind of envelope, it said, "I heard school isn't going so well. Might be time to think of an alternative career."
How good is that?
It's an interesting bit of parenting, isn't it?
Well,
You
normally,
didn't.
normally when I have bands on here, I always kind of repeat myself, and I hate it because I'm trying to make it as original as I can. But most people are against your son or daughter trying to get in a band because it's like that's never going to pay off. It's never going to be a proper job. So everyone's
Yeah,
like, get your education and then put your guitar down. That's a dream. That's fine. Have a bit of fun as a hobby, but concentrate on your grades. But your dad was probably like, he's fucked school up and there's no way back. So let's see if this guitar can at least
that's
somehow save the day.
that's exactly what you must have been thinking.
Jesus.
Yeah, because yeah, and because when I opened it, I was like, "What the hell is this?" You know what I mean? I thought like playing guitar was for like weirdos or something. You know, I had no idea that I would ever be obsessed by it. But yeah, I got pretty obsessed instantly, and actually, my like um everything changed. I kind of stopped being so angry and naughty, and I kind of put a lot of my kind of I suppose my feelings and thoughts into that, and it was kind of became my obsession. I would like literally when I went to like college, I'd like come back home and play it during lunchtime, even just to play for half an hour was like
So that's
a
good, isn't it?
valuable
That's
half an hour.
healthy.
Yeah, that I think having that obsession and direction and purpose was probably the moment when my life changed actually, because otherwise it could have just spiraled out of control. I mean, I got moved from certain. I was growing up in a pretty rough neighborhood and kind of like hanging out with probably like things that a lot of drug kind of orientated kind of places,
Yeah.
and so even that I didn't realize. But my dad kind of moved me and my mum and my sister to a different part of Swansea, which is a bit quieter. So even though he wasn't living with him, he was making big decisions that actually like helped me a lot in my, I guess, in my life, and helped changed the kind of path because where I was living, I'd kind of missed all my friends, but couldn't get to them, and
Yeah.
but I just had the guitar and was in like a kind of like much more quieter suburb, basically.
Did
So
you
I reckon that
resent
was the
did you resent your dad a bit at that point? Like, you bastard, like you're keeping me from my friends, like
yeah, I
this
was
is
super.
cruel. Yeah.
Yeah, I was super angry about that. Super angry. I was like, just loved playing football in the yard, you know what I mean? Just like, I mean, I didn't realize kind of because there was people my age kind of growing up at the same time, but there was a lot of older boys who were kind of into more like grown up things, there's lots of drugs around,
Yeah.
and to be honest, I couldn't really see it at the time. I was just obsessed with football and that was all I wanted to do, really, play football in the yard and whatever. But, you know, putting on the eyes of a few years later, I can kind of see that
For
it
the
was
best.
obvious. Yeah, it can obvious. It's not too much of a step, to have your first cigarette and then your first spliff and then your first
Yeah.
pill and then your first line and then your first,
It's a slippery
uh,
slope.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So anyway, got into all that stuff a bit later, but it was
Your dad
it was
probably saved you a little bit.
yeah, yeah, I
Because
think
if
so.
you're getting kicked out of school, the next thing you do is you get kicked out of a job, or then you get kicked into a bloody prison cell, or it's a slippery slope.
Mm. Yeah, actually, mate, I've never even talked about this with anyone, so it's yeah, I never really even thought about it that much either, but
No, it's
you're
what happened to
completely
this
right.
podcast, but it's I was a bad kid and I got kicked out of school and I was always being the naughty kid, and my mum and dad were my mum especially was quite big in church, so she
Mm,
would go to Sunday school or take me along and I'd always rebel and just be like, just couldn't be asked to be there, so I'd cause trouble and just in the end got banned from it. So it was like humiliating my mum and it was so bad
mm,
for the local community. I live in a quite a small village. And when I got kicked out of school, my mum and dad, a bit like your dad, made me go to a separate school, which was about an hour's drive every day. And I was away from all my friends. And then I lost that whole social group. I wasn't playing football in the field every night. I wasn't part of the like gang.
Mm.
And I was really isolated. So I was playing guitar and piano. My mum was teaching me guitar, and I rebelled. I was like, I hated my parents. I was like, I can't believe you've ruined my life. Like, you've taken me from this comfortable bubble with all my mates. I could
Mm.
do what I want. But the problem was, because I could do what I want, I ended up being a little shit and causing their life absolute hell.
Yeah.
So our stories are quite similar. So when you were talking, then I was thinking I can relate to this because I was there. I was hating my mum and dad for doing this, but now I can look back and know that I would have probably gone to prison, or I'd have probably got arrested, or I'd have probably done some extra drugs I shouldn't have, or got in some fights, and I would have turned out a completely different person than I am now. So probably I owe them, and they probably know now that I got it all out my system very
Mm.
young, and at least I
Yes.
came out better. It's better to do that than just go down that downward spiral. But I think your dad probably did the same and saved you, because you probably wouldn't be where you are now without that guitar and that house away from all the shit.
Yeah. Well, it sounds really similar, doesn't it? And mad for me to even think about it, really, because I've lived my life always just doing the next thing, doing the next thing, doing the next thing, like kind of relentlessly, and I haven't really looked back before, really, until now, mate. So
It's odd.
it's all gonna come flooding out now. I'm gonna end this podcast and be a train wreck.
You'd
I'll
be
be like,
ringing
oh
your
my,
dad and be like, I
yeah,
love you.
I love you so much, Papa.
Thank you so much for taking me away from that school. And you'd be like, what the fuck are you doing, son? Go away. I'm having my
Exactly. Yeah.
dinner. But I think it's good to look back sometimes, because we are so caught up in the moment and the way life is with music, with film, with TV, with social media. We are always, always doing stuff at a rapid speed. Music now on Spotify, you listen to a song, you skip to the next one. You don't listen to an album anymore. No one
Mm.
buys a good album and sticks it on. Like when
Yeah.
I used to buy a CD, we just talked about Oasis, and you'd push play and you'd let the whole thing play through, and you'd listen to
Yeah.
every song and listen to the lyrics and read along with a little booklet. You could even
Mm.
smell the inlay of how good that CD smelled and see all the nice artwork, the limited edition packaging. And now music's so disposable. You're like, oh, go and listen to Jack Jones, one track. You're like, oh, this is all right, and then you forget about it because someone else has told you about another thing. And
Yeah. Like we've all become so our attention is becoming like that's the value, isn't it? That's
yeah,
like our attention has become the commodity, and like everyone is vying for it constantly all the time. It's like a weird, weird world. Like someone told me, I think it was last week, that 40,000 new songs are uploaded to Spotify every day.
fuck yeah. And you're trying to make it. You're trying to
And you're
stand
like,
above the rest. Yeah.
yeah, it's like how mental is that? It's just beyond belief. I still have this like old school romantic heart because I was like listening to Oasis CDs and that journey of the album and
Yeah.
uh the I still write and perform and release music as if there is someone out there who's going to go through it like I am, who's going to be obsessed about it by me, who's going to listen to the song. I still hold that hope, but
There is still a few out there,
it's
but
rarer and rarer.
as
I
time
know.
goes on, they're fading away. And
Yeah.
I think us old school romantics, like some of my favorite bands and artists like Jeff Buckley, Radiohead, I will
Mm.
sit and I will digest their music, and I will never just put a track on. I literally will start it from. I mean,
Yeah.
this is why vinyl's quite good, because you have to sit there and listen to the whole thing. And I think
Yeah.
vinyl having to come back helps people a little bit. But Biffy Clyro, bands like this, I will literally listen to everything they've done all the way through, because that's just the way I've been brought up.
Man, Biffy. I mean, you just mentioned Biffy. They were one of the first bands I ever saw as well
Yeah,
in the Patty Pavilion in Swansea, and I
unbelievable.
absolutely loved them from the beginning. Like their first album, Black and Sky.
Yeah,
It's mad how many years they were going before they kind of
made the kind of mainstream. Yeah, it was only
yeah
a kind of puzzle when they had Living as a Problem that kind of came out, and everyone started
yeah
going a bit crazy. But I just got back 2 weeks ago from Glasgow, and I went to see Black and Sky, Vertigo Bliss, and Infinity Land in full for 3 nights running.
What that was it? I didn't even know that was happening.
Yeah, it was 1,800 tickets a night. Biffy in their hometown playing the first three albums back to back. It was fucking incredible.
Oh shit! Why didn't I even? How come all the suggested ads didn't come through on me for that one? I didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't even know about it.
It was. I had Simon Neil on for episode 300 from Biffy. I've got his
Oh my
signature on
god!
my arm. He's my favorite songwriter of my generation. I think he's like the next Kurt Cobain. I think he's the way he
Yeah,
writes harmonies and songs and how a song can start by Biffy and take you on this journey that you've never been on. And by the end,
yeah,
you're like, how the fuck did it get here? Like,
yeah. It's like traditional song, this traditional structure. He just drop kicked it out of
throws it
the
out the window.
stadium, didn't
Yeah,
he?
it's there's no other band like Biffy Clyro. They are just in a league of their own, and they deserve to headline festivals. They deserve to sell millions of albums because they have worked so hard, like 20 odd years of
Yeah.
grinding it out. You know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because if you think about it, those first four of first, so yeah, because when they signed the major deal, that was with Puzzle, wasn't it? That was when they
Yeah,
got. So like all those years before, they were like band, not too dissimilar to a band like Trampoline or something. You
yeah.
know what I mean? Like maybe a bit bigger, but they were literally, I'm guessing, not much more than hand to mouth, really.
No, I was paying. I think I've seen Biffy Clyro more than any other band. I've seen them 65 times, and when I saw them on their first tours for the first few albums, I was paying £3 a night or £5 with like
Yeah.
Hell Is for Heroes,
Yeah, I
and
was going to say Hell is for Heroes. I was there on that. That was some sort of MTV thing, wasn't it?
it
Or I
was
can't remember.
them, 100 Reasons, Ruben, Hell Is
Oh,
for
that yeah, that
100 Reasons. Yeah, oh
that
God.
Hundred Reasons album though. That's probably still one of my favorite albums ever. Ideas
Ideas
Above Our
Above Our
Station.
Station. Yeah,
Like that
just
album. When I'm knackered and I'm driving home from a gig and I need to stay awake, it's like 3 or 4 in the morning. And I still got like an hour and a half to
yeah,
go. I put that album on twice.
yeah.
Honestly, that album is absolutely fucking perfect, man.
It
It's
is.
just
It's
absolute.
that's how you do a debut.
Yeah, like fuck. And I seen they like I don't know how they're doing now, but I've seen like they doing
They're
some
doing Alexander
shows.
Palace. They're doing a show with rival schools. Those two next year.
Oh wow, okay, yeah. Because I always think, fuck, when I was a kid listening to that album,
Yeah,
they were like rock gods to me, millionaire rock gods. And then
yeah.
I see like becoming a musician myself, and I look at it more practically, and I'm like, fuck, they're probably not that wealthy. You know what I mean? They're probably just scraping by it like,
Yeah,
now and
Larry
then.
produces other bands. Colin, the singer, I think probably has a full-time job now and does the band now and then. Like it's a reality check. You think, don't you? They're like untouchable. You think like they
Yeah,
must sell out stadiums, but the reality is, like Ruben, like Hell Is for Heroes, they're all in normal jobs now.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. It's crazy to me to think that. Yeah. I mean, sometimes people think that with me and Trampoline as well, because it's like, oh, you can play Swansea Arena, like you surely you must be loaded. I'm like, mate,
If
I'm
only
doing.
you knew.
Yeah, if only you knew. Yeah, exactly. But
So with your obviously Jack Jones, your own work or your solo stuff that you released, your debut album, the
yeah,
song stuff like Breathe, all this sort of stuff. At what point were you sitting and putting pen to paper and thinking, I want to go out there and do my thing? You know, not Trampoline. I just want to do me.
uh, um, I don't think I had a moment where I was like, right, I'm going to do a solo record or anything. I basically through COVID and through all that kind of madness where everything kind of stopped for a while, I was keeping lots of diaries, and because I was proper ill, I guess, with COVID, and my missus is a doctor, so we both got it quite early and we were both really ill. And after I had it, I had like my first mental health problems, I'd probably describe them as. I've
Yeah.
always been pretty feet on the ground, kind of thought anyone who struggles with mental health is probably just a weak person or something, something like that.
Yeah, of
Basic. My
course.
mind was like, I had when I was born, I had a bone tumor, I had Crohn's disease, I had all these things and physical pains, and I always thought that mental health isn't never going to struggle with that ever.
Just shake it off. You're fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, what do you just grow up?
Yeah. Go for a walk. You'll be all
Yeah,
right.
go for a walk or get a grip, man.
Yeah. Man up. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Quite the
after I
opposite,
had
isn't it?
yeah, and then after I had COVID, it was like the fucking biggest reality check in the history of my fucking life. It was I would have taken any of those physical ailments over
Yeah.
what I went through. I was like, fucking hell, I am not going to make it through. I didn't want to, literally didn't want to see the next day, not the next minute.
No.
I was absolute fucking disaster of a wreck, and I started having therapy. I saw lots of different doctors and just trying to find a way to help to get through. But one of the kind of treatments I had was this keeping a diary, of your mood,
Yeah.
and I was quite ill, I would say, probably for about as long as 18 months. And before,
It's
like
a long
literally
time, isn't it?
during the whole of COVID, the days would get better. There would be like I would be better for 2 hours or better for 3 hours. So I could kind of hold on to that bit of progression, but it took a lot longer to be able to cope again. I'd say that's probably be able to, like, not break down. I remember I tried to go out. My first time I tried to go out and buy a Hoover. It was like, and I got to the shop in the supermarket or whatever, and I just literally broke down into tears, and I couldn't buy a Hoover. I mean, I couldn't. I mean, that's how bad I was. I couldn't buy a Hoover, and I had to go to get Lena to come and pick me up, and like people were wondering what was wrong with me, and I couldn't even explain it. I couldn't even
What's
explain
weird
it.
as well, isn't it, is I've had battles with mental health, and I think I'm not scared to admit it. And I have a lot of guests on the podcast. You'd be surprised by these metal bands that have singers that are like Limp Bizkit, and they turn around
Yeah.
and say, "Fuck, like mental health is so important," and I put on a brave face and I wear a mask every night, but deep down I'm suffering. And more people need to say, I struggle. It's not a weakness. I'm not pathetic. It's fucking hard when you struggle." And the littlest things after COVID, and it's only because it probably gave me too much thinking time. I think I was at home too many days on my own, or I was
Mm.
not having enough activity going on, so there wasn't a routine anymore, and I just lost it. And I've had counselling like you. I've been to
Mm.
therapy and spoke to people, and my wife's been an absolute rock more than ever. And I feel
Mm.
like those days you're just like, how am I going to get through today? Never mind the next month or the next year. And I don't think there's anything wrong with anybody now admitting that your own brain can be your biggest enemy in the whole world.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, and when it happens, it happens. Like that line, I think even Tyson Fury said it. Unless you've had mental health battles, you can't understand it and you can't
No,
explain it. And I was certainly of that camp, you can't understand how the depravity, or not depravity, but just the depths of kind of painful things your own mind can put you through. It's like, how does that happen? I mean, it's like bizarre. But and basically, I kept this diary during
yeah,
the like logging into my mood and all that, and I had just all this, and just didn't know what to do with it. I really didn't know what to do with it, and there was so much to say that it felt like it was harder to fit into more of a traditional form of songwriting. And I started hanging out at my mate's house, who was kind of amazing on a computer, and he was challenging me not to write with a guitar, and he'd put these kind of beats there for me to experiment with, and I just opened up the diary and was, basically just bawling out the kind of last 18 months of my life, one thing after another, not even changing much of it,
no.
and now and then there would be the odd uh, thing I had changed around to make it rhyme a bit sweeter or cut a syllable here and there, but it just felt like it was something that I had to do for me, really. And I didn't even know if it was ever going to come out. I had no plan to really release it, to be honest, and was just happy that I'd been able to express myself. And it was only someone at Pete's label who heard it and was like, "Crikey, I've got to release this stuff." And then the next thing I knew, there was an album coming out. I think I finished the album in uh, April, and it was out by September. So it was like the fastest turnaround of anything that I've ever done, really, as well. 'Cause a lot of the time you're sitting on songs, you're writing them,
Did
perfecting
you
them.
did you even have time to kind of digest it and listen back enough and be happy enough to go, this is all right, or was it just too much of a whirlwind? Because most of the bands I speak to are waiting for vinyl to be pressed or waiting for the label to master it, and it's sometimes sitting on an album for a year, 18 months. So for you to have it finished and out there 6 months later must have been a bit like, hold on a minute, hang on, I need to listen to this. It's in HMV. What's happening?
That's
Yeah,
exactly. I've had exactly that thought because I'm like,
yeah,
I feel like I haven't even approved the album yet, and yet everyone's it's out there. But that was almost part of it felt like part of the, I don't know, letting go process of it for me, and like being vulnerable, because it was like putting myself in that scenario, saying the things that I've said, and then just letting people almost take it or leave it or judge it for themselves is the feels like to me become part of the process of it.
yeah.
But like you said, I sometimes think, holy shit, I haven't even heard that song, and it's out in the world. You know what I mean? It's all very instinctual. It was like, yeah, 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 kind of go, 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 go.
But to have Pete Doherty's label and all those people behind you, and obviously Pete Doherty feature you on his song and give you the
Yeah,
push that you needed, like, and I say that with full respect, to have the backing of one of the Libertines, one of the best sort of songwriters of our generation, must be fucking pinch me. This isn't real. This can't be happening. Because he's people don't realize, but Pete's one of the nicest, loving, softest guys out there, isn't he?
yeah. No one. I mean, yeah, they hear so much shit about him,
Yeah,
but that's all fallen away. I feel like,
yeah,
I mean, like when you look at all these scandals of all these people, there's like fucking scandal, fucking scandal, fucking scandal. All these basically cunts who've been running the
yeah.
fucking, and then Pete was just getting all this shit for being a heroin addict. You know what I mean? It's
I
like
know for
so not
suffering.
fair
Yeah,
for suffering. Yeah, exactly. It's like someone give him some help. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and it's as time goes on, I think he just becomes. People see the truer nature of him, and yeah, he changed my life, completely changed my life. And it was weird for me because one of the first songs I ever learned on the guitar was "Fuck Forever," and
that's
when I
cool.
was when I was like 14 or whatever, 14, 15. And then fast forward 10 years, and I'm like in Peter's band playing "Fuck Forever." You know what I mean? It's like the fucking weirdest story ever. It's a weird fairy tale, really. And
It's unbelievable.
yeah, and the whole label thing was I was in a when well, probably just before I'd met Pete, I'd signed like a record deal with Trampolene, and it was one of those absolute piss-taking record deals where they owned all the music forever, and it was a bit of a disaster.
Get paid £1 a week and that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, exactly. And what happened weirdly was that I think when we'd start, because at the beginning I wasn't like Pete, I was just Pete's session
yeah.
guitarist, and he kind of years as the years went by, he affectionately called us the Puta Madres or whatever, and that's kind of how that whole thing came about. But um, I was still, writing songs like I've always done constantly, and so he was looking for a label for Puta Madres, and I was also trying to find a way out of the situation I was in, and
Yeah.
a label for Trampoline. So it was those kind of things happening together, which pushed him, I think, to really pushed him and his manager Jai to start the record label. And now it's like the host of all the misfits and
It's
forgotten.
amazing.
It's turned into this mad thing. I mean, he got me basically Peter paid out the old record label so I could have um
Like a
you
fresh
know
start.
yeah, so all the albums, the first two albums, two Trampoline albums, and all those early singles, we managed to get them back because of Peter, and then sits uh, sequentially from then, everything we done, the third, the fourth, the live album, and this album, all the records have been done with Pete. And
How good is that?
yeah, I mean, you couldn't. I always make a joke. I'm like, Like, I couldn't think of a more reliable and trustworthy citizen to own my recordings than Pete
Yeah,
Doherty. Everyone laughs, but it's true as well. It's
yeah.
true. It's
He
true
was
because people
absolutely
don't.
lovely when I met him, and we sat down and had a real, like today, real heart to heart. And he was just amazing. Everyone's comments were like, "I didn't expect him to be like this." It's like, yeah, because I'm not the Sun newspaper. I'm not going to try and fucking throw him under a bus. He's a lovely guy. He's
Yeah.
just a beautiful human being. So
Mm.
I'm very grateful for his time and what he's done, and for what he's done for you. Is just you can never pay him back, can you?
No, no, exactly. And because just from the fact of being his guitarist, it just is shone such a light on everything I'd done with the band with Trampoline, and then
Yeah,
he gave me a chance with my own songwriting, and I wrote songs for him, and you know the hearing him sing "Paradise Is Under Your Nose." When we did that song, I mean, just hearing him actually sing one of your a song that you've written was all very surreal, and like goosebumps. As soon as he sang the song, it just made the song go through the roof. It must be my own version of when Noel gives a song to Liam and he just takes it to the next level. So I had that experience, and it was really surreal. And the song came out, and it did what it did, and we went on tour for the first time, and we we got to the Kentish Town Forum. I think it might have been even 2 nights, and as a dream for any songwriter is to hear a crowd of people singing your song back, and for the first time when we were in the forum, and Pete said he'll play Paradise, and I started playing it, and to hear like 2,500, 3,000 people sing your song was the most, like, I almost couldn't carry on. I was like literally in pieces inside. It was like the most magical experience as a songwriter I think I could ever believe. And now even like when I do that song kind of acoustically at the end of my own sets, is still everyone still sings along. So it's like he didn't just give me my chance as a musician, it was a chance as a songwriter as well. And yeah, he's God, we've had some mad times, me and Pete, bloody hell, driving around Europe in his fucking camper van. And Jesus Christ, I can't believe I've survived. You know what I mean? It's like the amount of times I thought I was going to prison or going to die, but
all worth it.
yeah, exactly. It's an extreme life, but I wouldn't change anything about it. If someone said to me, you could have had a major record deal
Yeah,
or like, these kind of things, I don't think that would have brought me as much as what my relationship with Pete has brought me by a mile. Because it's like loyal, beautiful, dedicated fans, and a friendship that lasts forever. So it's like, yeah. In fact, I don't even know if I've even sat there and with anyone and really thought about it before, to be honest. It's one of those things.
so you're still doing tours with Trampoline? You're still doing stuff with Pete? You're still doing your own stuff? It must be pretty busy.
Yeah, crikey. I mean, when I first got the Pete job, kind of thing, I remember we were doing a gig with a Trampoline, and we'd done like a first time we'd sold out like the Water Rats, and like I thought my life was going to be that is as good as my life was going to get. I thought
Yeah,
this is it now. I can retire. I've moved from Swansea to Hornsey, and my life is done. And and then the next morning, I had a call from Pete's manager who said, "Right, Pete wants you to be his new guitarist.
fucking hell.
Um, pack some socks and pants into a bag. So I've booked you on a flight to Buenos Aires at 7 o'clock." I looked at my phone; it was like 1:30 in the afternoon. So I had to get all my shit together and go. And then what happened was, over the next few years, well, I'd go on tour with Pete,
Yeah,
and then through Pete's manager and a guy called Tony, who's my manager, uh, they would. So wherever I go with Pete, I'd go back there, but with Trampoline.
yeah.
So I was basically on tour constantly, constantly,
Just doing a
constantly.
loop. Yeah,
Yeah, just looping, 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 and yeah. So there's not really until COVID. I was literally living my life in a van. Yeah, literally living my life in a van. And I literally did live in a van in London. So like that was Not much different for me, but yeah. Until then, I was literally touring constantly with at the beginning the Jack Jones kind of shows would just be me playing a few acoustic songs. I do the odd thing that I'd done with Peter or the odd thing I'd done with Trampoline, but this kind of batch of songs is the first thing that I've done kind of as Jack Jones, if that makes any sense. So this
Yeah.
is the first time I've ever toured it, which is weird because of some people I think don't even realize that I got an album out that's a Jack Jones. Like some people coming up in their like Puta Madre or Jack Jones Trampoline t-shirts, they have no idea I've got a new album full of like mad streets inspired beats, but they're just expecting me to like rock out with Trampoline. But it's been great. There's been some amazing nights as well. People singing the new songs too.
What have you got kind of? I know it's busy and I know it must be hard to keep track of where you're at, but what's your kind of goals for your own music? Or forget touring with Trampoline, forgetting Pete, with your own stuff, your album's out there now. Do you just want to kind of see yourself go further up the posters at gigs and festivals and just see yourself for your songs you've written during that tough time of COVID and your mental health kind of reach its peak as far as you can take it?
Yeah, I'd love that. In fact,
Yeah.
that would be an amazing uh, achievement to be able to do things like that on my own as well as with the bands or whatever. But yeah, I'd like it to go as far as I can because I believe in it. And whenever I write a song now, I always think, is it useful? Is it going to be useful to someone else? Is it useful to me? And is it helping me?
Yeah.
And I've found that probably with this album, I've found the most useful, if that makes any sense, that just helping me through the day, like through the album is. So I would love it to reach as far as it can. Yeah, I would love it. And I'd love to be able to have that lane to be able to go down to and express as well as kind of the more kind of indie rock and roll stuff that I've got as well. So it's like it's a nice place to go and visit, a nice canvas to go and paint every now and then.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. And do you find it? Obviously, we talked just before we started recording today about your recent gig in my hometown of Shrewsbury, and obviously you're playing loads of shows at the moment. Do you
Yeah.
find it a completely different challenge when it's you and it's your name on the poster and it's your name and you've got those expectations of not like, oh, people will come because it's Pete Doherty or people will come because it's Trampoline. It's you. You couldn't be any more kind of exposed, could you?
Yeah, it feels very naked. I feel
Yeah,
very naked and exposed and
like the school days.
vulnerable. Yeah, exactly.
360.
It is.
Yeah,
It's all coming back round, isn't
yeah,
it? The well, because I wasn't at all sure what I was going to do with this show because I didn't really want to use a band because it would just seem too much like everything else I'd
yeah.
done. So at the beginning I toyed with the idea of having like a drummer or something, but in the end I just went on the road with the laptop. And what I've done is I tried to turn my room into like 15-year-old self's bedroom, kind of with my like books and posters and around, and I kind of treat the laptop as my only friend.
That's awesome.
So I'm like talking with it's like some people have said that it's more like a bloody stand-up comedy show, but I'm not really trying to be funny. I'm just talking about my life and the songs and kind of having that moment to say the stories of the songs and how weird some parts of my life have been, and then going back and forth between me and the laptop and the story. So it's been a completely new way of approaching the kind of performance for me. It's like I don't know really how to describe. I'm not even sure what I'm doing, to be honest. I'm just trying to be honest and
It's
just
working though, so don't
yeah.
change it.
That's true. That's sweet. And yeah, yesterday Shrewsbury it was wild because we had these people at the front who were just going mad, and then everyone else kind of sitting in chairs in the booths behind, kind of. So it was a hard mix to get right, but I think it worked in the end, and I enjoy that kind of. If you could go back in time and put a camera into your like 15-year-old self's bedroom where you'd like just starting to experiment creatively and figure out yourself, figure out who you are in this world, who you want to be, and how you want to live your life.
Yeah.
That's the kind of feel that I wanted for it. And so decorate the stage with all my old T-shirts and all this kind of stuff, and random things like Freddo bars costing 10
I
pence.
heard that in the lyrics today. I was thinking, yeah, fucking hell, they're 30p now.
I know, mate. It's an absolute
Yeah.
fucking rip, mate. They're like in some places in London, they're 55 pence, mate.
I know. I bought a chomp the other day. It was 50p. I thought 50p for a chomp. Like that's how you should always measure the inflation rate, just on the price of chomps. And it's madness.
Yeah, and fudges.
If you
Yeah,
want a proper chocolate bar now, like a genuine like Boost or a Twix or a Kit Kat, you're going to pay over £1.
yeah, it's like £1.30.
Yeah, the standard. Like what?
Yeah,
What?
it's fucking ridiculous. It's mad, isn't it?
What the hell? What I need to do is I've got a final question for you today, and I always ask the same final question to everyone that comes on, is you get to choose the last song that's played on today's episode. So it can be any song in the world by any band or any piece of music, but something that means a lot to you. And I put you on the spot, and I know you're a songwriter, I know music's your life, I know there's probably a million songs in your head, but I want to know the one that came to your heart and your soul before any other.
Wow, gosh. The first thing that came to me instantly was Perfect Day by Lou
Yeah.
Reed. And I don't know why, actually.
It's a perfect song, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, I do know why, actually, because you were thinking of what song means the most to me. And I was always super close with my sister when I was growing up. We were like thick as thieves, like me and her against the world.
Yeah.
And she came up to live in London. I moved up to London, and she came, and we've been like little comrades in arms or something. And whenever we'd had like a tough time or like a moment where it was like something that we'd had to get through, we'd go on a drive and just talk. And before we'd go on a drive, before we'd start talking, we'd always listen to this song. We'd always listen to Lou. Yeah. And it would be like, no matter shit, whatever chaos was going on in our lives, no matter what we were trying to deal with, and she's had even more to deal with than me. So it's we'd always pretend it was a perfect day.
I love that. How wholesome is that?
So that, and yeah, that just, as soon as you mentioned it, it just shot into me. And I've never even thought about that kind of question before, but
It feels like a nice. Some people say, "What do you want as your funeral song or that last song to be played?"
yeah,
or a song that means a lot to you. And I think, what a great finish to today's interview! It's just a perfect day, like just the icing on the cake.
yeah. Well, yeah, that's for me. I'd have to go for that today. Yeah, 100%.
Thank you for your time, my friend. This has been like a counselling session. It's gone everywhere. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as me because it's just been great fun, and I've just loved it.
Mate, I had no idea what to expect. I was just, it's been totally heartwarming, and it just, yeah, I feel like I should be paying you for this kind of session, mate.
Well, I'll invoice you, yeah.
Send an invoice to Strap Originals.
Yeah. No, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate, and you're more than welcome to come back on anytime you want, because I've had guests that have come on 3 or 4 times, and yeah, it's I'm trying to make it my full-time job. I'm almost there now, just a couple more sponsorships and I'm done. So I love what I do. I love getting to speak to people, and I've had an absolute blast today.
Oh, brilliant, man. I've loved coming on, and I can't wait to send this round to the whole world. And if you'll have me, mate, I'll be back whenever with sparkly diamond rings.
I'm gutted I missed Shrewsbury, but hopefully it won't be that long until you come back.
Yeah, exactly. I'll never
Or if
be.
you play Birmingham or Manchester or Wolverhampton or anything like that soon, let me know.
Yeah, I will do, Mark, and
I'll come and we'll
be
have a
great
beer.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's my interview with me and Jack Jones. I told you it was good. That's not even me being arrogant. I never believe in my own episodes, but there was something special about this one. Joking aside, it felt like a counselling session. It kind of felt like catching up with an old friend. I feel like I've known him my whole life, and he was just unbelievable. And I can't wait to get him back on the podcast hopefully next year. I also want to go and see him live. I've just got his vinyl. It's absolutely gorgeous. So go and treat yourself as well. You will not regret it. Go and give Jack a follow. Support this guy because he deserves all the love in the world. I really hope everyone's enjoyed today's episode as much as me, and if you have, just take that couple of minutes to share it. You're all on Facebook, you're all on Instagram, some of the cool kids are on TikTok, and please, just take a minute to share it. It costs you absolutely nothing to share, and it is literally the click of a couple of buttons, but it goes a long way. It gets the name of Mark and me out there, and I appreciate each and every one of you for taking that couple of minutes just to share this episode. I also want to give a shout out to the sponsor of Mark and Me, Richer Sounds. If you like listening to music or want to watch a good film over Christmas, get yourself a new TV or some headphones, go to richersounds.com or go to any of their high street stores. They are truly the best out there. And before I go, I just want to say a massive thanks to everyone that supports me on Patreon. If you haven't yet signed up, there's a link on markandme.com. This basically is the way of giving me like a tip. If you're impressed with the podcast and you enjoy the episodes that are all free, but just want to give me a couple of quid to say thanks, all that goes right back into a pot. I use that to travel the country to do podcasts for you guys at home, host the podcast on all these different directories, and keep the interviews coming your way. That's the only way I can do this podcast because I'm a one-man team. I'm a completely independent podcaster, so any support on Patreon really makes a difference. Right, I'm going to go now because it's literally only day 2 of the 5 days of podcasting, and there's going to be another episode out this time tomorrow. But until then, look after yourself, go and listen to Jack Jones, and I'll speak to you all very soon.
Just a perfect day. Drink sangria in the park, and then later, when it gets dark, we go home. Just a perfect day. Feed animals in the zoo. Then later, a movie too, and then home. Oh, it's such a perfect day. I'm glad I spent it with you. Oh, such a perfect day. You just keep me hanging on. You just keep me hanging on. Just a perfect day. Problems all left alone. Weekenders on our own. It's such fun. Just a perfect day. You made me forget myself. I thought I was someone else, someone good. Oh, it's such a perfect day. I'm glad I spent it with you. Oh, such a perfect day. You just keep me hanging on. You just keep me hanging on. You're going to reap just what you sow. You're going to reap just what you sow. You're going to reap just what you sow. You're going to reap just what